Welcome to this Supercharged update where this week we have lots of Tesla news and also an aviation honorable mention. Let's dive in. If you are currently in the full self-driving doghouse or are down to your last strike, there's some good news for you. In response to a question on Twitter, Elon stated that a strike reset is definitely coming, it's on the horizon. And although there was no official date, I'm assuming that strikes will be removed from owners' records when 10.69.2 rolls out to the wider community. Elon suggested that resets could come as early as this week, and I'm expecting 10.69.2 to drop next Monday, with 10.69.1 out around now. For those unaware, Tesla has a strike system that will remove owners from the full self-drive beta program should they be inattentive, spend too long looking at the center console, or use their phones whilst driving. It's worth noting that you don't lose the autopilot full self-driving, it's just you get kicked out of the beta program should you exceed the strike limit. Tesla did start with a 3-strike policy, which is traditional, but after several complaints, that was increased to 5 strikes with a software update. If you're using the production version of full self-drive feature and have requested access to the beta program, keep an eye on your safety score within the Tesla app. And rumor has it that you must complete 100 miles of driving on autopilot. And whether or not that's true, I'm not too sure, but driving on autopilot is always fun and engaging, and realistically 100 miles of charge costs you very little. So go out there and try it and let me know if you get accepted into the FSD Beta program after doing it. So ultimately, let it be known that if you get access to the full self-drive beta program, you better behave yourself or you'll get kicked out pretty quickly. There's no room for Tesla to take risks on users abusing the full self-drive beta by sitting in the back seat or falling asleep or just watching movies on Netflix. That could ruin the reputation of full self-drive, and Tesla simply don't want to expose themselves to that risk. So please be attentive for the sake of the wider community. Next, we have some Cybertruck news, and it appears that Tesla has been hard at work beating the crap out of a Cybertruck. Spotted by a Whole Mars blog or a Whole Mars catalog, a Tesla owner and full self-drive beta tester, this muddied, futuristic pickup truck was being offloaded from a covered trailer, and it's fair to say the Cybertruck was definitely sporting signs of real-world off-road testing. And it looks like the rear right wheel may have unexpectedly dismantled some of its wheel arch. Now, the savvy amongst you may have realized that this Cybertruck has a couple of additions that we'll rarely see out in the wild. The wing mirrors for two. But seriously, the addition of cameras to the front bonnet asks more questions than perhaps it answers. Are these cameras part of the FSD camera system? In which case, where are they going to be positioned once the car goes into production? Could we see cameras on the front bumper, at the bottom of the windshield, or all the way back at the top of the windshield, some 10 feet from the nose of the vehicle? There simply are so many details of the Cybertruck that we're all just waiting to discover. In addition to the Kermit-like cameras, there's a small addition to the very top of the windshield. It looks to me like a scaled-down Starlink terminal, but surely that's too small to make use of the Starlink network, right? We know that Starlink is offered for RVs in a reduced scale terminal than perhaps the residential one, and one assumes that in the future, Starlink will be available to vehicles, probably as an upgrade, with Elon recently revealing that the V2 Starlink satellites will be working in conjunction with T-Mobile to ensure that there are no dead zones anywhere. And albeit right now, the plan is to use it for phone calls and text messages and maybe a small chance of video, one has to assume that as the network comes online, remember there's like 3,000 of 12,000 satellites currently in orbit. As more come online, greater bandwidth will be available and the possibilities will continue to expand. Now, we all know that the Cybertruck is a polarizing vehicle. Personally, I love the design, but can't see myself ever buying one or any pickup truck, to be honest. The sheer scale of this beast combined with its durability means that it should be a very popular vehicle for pickup truck type people who are bored with the way most pickup trucks look, with the R1T from Rivian being one of the few that actually deviate from the standard design. Let me know in the comments what you think about the design of the Cybertruck, and please leave a comment if you know what any of these temporary additions to the truck could be. As a reminder, the Cybertruck is set to go into production in the new year, and we are waiting to find out just how much inflation and supply chain issues are going to impact the list price and which models will actually ship in 2023. Speaking of shipping, Rivian and its R1S SUV have started customer deliveries. This will be a brief update for my second favorite EV company, Rivian. Deliveries have begun for the R1S SUV, and I really can't wait to see this out in the wild. Rivian has a very thorough delivery process, and it can take a couple of hours with a delivery specialist as they show you all of the essentials, how to charge, and all of the toys that are built into this amazing vehicle. I'll dig through Twitter and Instagram for you and share some of the deliveries on our Instagram at SuperchargeThisShow. Now, Rivian really need to ship these vehicles as quickly as possible to avoid a potential cash crunch as the economy rides out this roller coaster of unpredictability. So seeing deliveries must give the team and their fans great hope. If you put down a deposit for an R1S today, you're looking at 12 to 15 months for a delivery time, and nobody actually knows what that vehicle is going to cost you. Right now, you can put a deposit down of $1,000, but there are no more details on how you configure the vehicle or what the list price actually is right now, and what you can expect to pay when that delivery time actually arrives. Let's talk about Ford. The Mustang Mach-E price has surged over the last few days. Ford closed the order books for the Mustang Mach-E earlier this year due to overwhelming demand. Simply put, the Mach-E production ramp up just couldn't keep up with demand, and that started to push delivery windows further and further into the future. And with that came risks and uncertainties for Ford. As we know, all manufacturers are battling inflation and costs are rising with supply chain issues. And Ford chose to protect itself from selling pre-orders at a price that they probably would not be able to actually sell the vehicles for when the time came. With the opening up of the order books seemingly rapidly approaching, Ford has issued price hikes for all variants of the mighty electric Mustang. And there's quite a spread on the price increases. The entry level, the select rear-wheel drive standard range version, has gone up $3,000 to $46,895, but the more performance-driven GT variant is now going to cost you a hair over $70,000, which is up around $8,000. Now remember, we don't do politics here. I'm sure there will be people complaining about Ford adding $8,000 to a list price whilst qualifying for the $7,500 tax credit, but price hikes were bound to happen and will probably continue happening for a while as the raw materials used for battery packs continues to increase in costs. We've seen a lot of bad PR for companies such as Rivian who have increased prices of vehicles after taking pre-order payments, and this really avoids that bad press and allows Ford to cover its extra expenses. Although who doesn't like a good conspiracy theory? New orders are expected to be possible as early as next week, so if you are looking to buy an all-electric beefed up Ford Edge with a Mustang badge, keep your eye out on the Ford website. That's time for today's honorable mention. Harbour has successfully completed its first point-to-point test flight in an all-electric aeroplane. Not an airplane, an aeroplane. Now, the former pilot in me loves to see stories like this. Here we have a 50-year-old air transport operator taking a wonderfully named E-Beaver on a 24-minute 45-mile jaunt from Vancouver to Victoria International, and apparently they arrived with an undetermined ample power reserve. After the flight, VP of Flight Ops Corey Poole had this to say: "I'm excited to report that this historic flight on the E-plane, okay, cool, went exactly as planned. Our team, as well as the team at Magnix and Transport Canada, are always closely monitoring the aircraft's performance, and today's flight further proved the safety and reliability of what we have built." And this is an achievement that moves the E-Beaver closer to certification and commercial approval, two things that are required before flights for remuneration are permitted. Now, the sheer weight of battery packs makes the prospect of an all-electric flight at scale somewhat troublesome in its current state, but it's always exciting to see people building the future one innovation at a time. Will we ever see transatlantic all-electric flights? Who's to say? Ever is a very long time. It won't be happening in the near future, but who knows what technologies are around the corner. That's it for this supercharged update. If you've enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking this video. If you want to know more about FSD 1069, watch this video here, or here is a playlist of my first ever EV road trip covering 1,500 miles in the Model Y. And I'll see you in the next one.